Alex, while we're waiting for folks to come in, did you want to give your community announcements?
It's okay. Sorry. Thank you, Rick. Yes. Just before this midweek with Max, we have a little gift with air on air for the community. And there is a new project, the Odd NFT will release soon, and we have 1 free mint to give away, and we are adding 15,000 air. So just have to make a tweet about Hemi and how you feel the Hemi ecosystem actually, and put the hashtag believe in Hemi. And at the end of this meeting, we will draw a participant. I just have to precise we have not a lawyer to certificate it. We will use a little tool and share the name winner just after the midweek with Max. Thanks.
All right, thank you, sir. Appreciate it. For any other details, please feel free to just pop them right in the chat. I'm gonna kick you off stage. I mean, no offense.
I think we lost you, Rick.
Oh no! Can you guys hear me?
Yep. Now you're back.
Oh God! All right. Sorry, I don't know what the hell's going on. All right. Hold on. Take that, Alex. I kicked him off stage. Not kicked, but removed. He's wonderful. Thank you to our entire moderation team. You guys are the best. All right. So we are right about 5 past the hour. So what the hell? Let's get started. We're back, baby. Welcome to another Midweek with Max. Sorry I missed last week. I've been deathly ill and still recovering, which is fun. But it's good to see everyone. And can't talk. Forgot how to talk. But whatever, I'm just going to kick it over to Max and team for updates, and then we can get into your questions.
All right, awesome. So welcome everyone to another Midweek with Max. I'll go through some quick engineering updates and a couple of status updates about some of the pending post-TGE items, and then we can jump into questions. So quick post-TGE items, the Spectra and Dodo fix is up. It's in a new claim group. You should be able to claim your token allocation for those fixed recalculated points through the regular claim site. I believe there's 2 tabs. One of the tabs is, I believe, Spectra and Dodo. If you click on that, you'll be able to submit a second claim if you were already part of the first claim group, or if you weren't part of the first claim group and you only got tokens after the recalculation, then you'll just have to claim in the second one. So if you've already claimed, but you're missing points either for Spectra or Dodo, definitely check the claim site again to go through the updated claim process. As far as mechanics behind that, basically, there were some addresses that didn't have their YT September positions calculated correctly, so we've addressed that, and the few people who were missing those were credited those. And then also, we were originally not counting the October Spectra pool, but we realized there was some confusion about which one was incentivized. Originally, it was just supposed to be the September pool that was incentivized. And that's the one that was linked to on Absinthe, but there was some confusion in users thinking that the October pool was also incentivized. And so we did go ahead and calculate additional points and tokens for the October pool. And so if you participated in either October pool providing liquidity or holding YT tokens, those were also reflected in the new recalculation, along with all of the missing points for LPing on Dodo. There was also one user who was a participant in the node sale and didn't properly get counted in the final export due to confusion with a ref code on the Impossible Finance side. So we also got that fixed, and that user has been added to that claim group. So that's been done. If you think you may have been affected by the Spectra or Dodo recalculation, go check the updated claim page and try in that second claim group. Beyond that, we are going to be deploying the smart contract that lets people who participated in PoP points pre-TGE to swap their locked position for the equivalent number of unlocked tokens if they want to do that. So that probably will not be through any sort of claim page, but we'll have instructions for how to do that through the Explorer if you do want to trade in your locked position for the liquid token equivalent. And I believe we'll talk a little bit more about PoP payouts and PoP points later in the AMA. And then all the VeriBlock stuff is still coming. We're working on some tech details. There's some complexity in converting all the VeriBlock representations of public keys over to Ethereum addresses. So we're just working on getting that squared away, and hopefully we should be able to launch that claim process by the end of next week. But there's still technical stuff there we're working through, so working on that. It's in progress. Beyond that, engineering updates in general. Still a lot of work on ZK provability. We had a lot of progress on the Bitcoin indexer for ZK provable statements about Bitcoin state. So that's moving along. Still also doing some work in simulating quote unquote high risk network upgrades. So being able to especially deploy updated L1 contracts on the Ethereum side and test that into end-to-end isolated testing environment, which is just an extra precaution before upgrading L1 contracts. So that's moving along, making progress there. Also working on finalizing the PoP payouts, the updated PoP payouts algorithm. So just doing some final backtesting. And I did also post a message in the general channel right before midweek with details on the current plan for the algorithm. We may tweak some of those parameters slightly as we do some backtesting with Bitcoin fee market stuff. But the overall parameters, what they mean and how they get incorporated into the calculation, the actual methodology, all that's going to stay the same. So if you are interested in kind of a sneak peek at the updated PoP payouts algorithm, go look at that message in the general chat. And with that, I will turn it back over to Rick.
All right. Thank you, Max. Under the section of updates, do we have any VBK updates for the community?
Yeah, pretty much already went over that. We're just working on getting the technical component for the conversion to ETH addresses sorted out, and then we'll be able to launch that hopefully by end of next week.
Awesome news. All right. On to a section called tokenomics, which happened before GTA 6. When will full details about CS be announced?
What is CS?
I have no idea. It's in my notes in the feed that was sent to me. Josh,
I believe that's circulating supply.
aha! Thank you, sir.
Oh, got it. So we did publish that tokenomics PDF that had the high level overview of it. We'll probably be publishing additional information on that in the next several weeks here. Probably go live on the doc site. But it's pretty much what's in the PDF, just broken down for a little more granularity with exact numbers. But what you see in the PDF, you can get probably within like plus or minus 5% of the circulating supply for the first 4 years just from that. But that is coming. We will publish more details on that soon.
All right. When will a fully detailed and transparent tokenomics breakdown be released?
It's going to be an iterative process. So we'll publish more details, like I said, on circulating supply soon. That pretty much covers all the tokenomics pieces. The only remaining things are going to be the vHEMI staking rewards, and then some more details on the emissions allocation and how that's getting split up between different protocol pieces. So expect updated circulating supply stuff next few weeks. Hopefully news about the vHEMI yield also in the next 2 to 3 weeks time span. And then emissions are probably going to evolve over time, and there's also going to be a governance component to it. But we'll probably have more details on that in the next month or so, if not earlier.
All right. This is actually closely related to something you just mentioned, but what are your thoughts on the natural vHEMI market?
So taking a step back just mechanically for anyone who's not familiar with how the vHEMI contract works, and there's probably some documentation and stuff that we should put out there as well just to make these mechanics a bit more understood. But basically, vHEMI positions, if you receive the vHEMI position through the claim process, or if you voluntarily lock additional Hemi tokens through the Hemi portal, you'll get a vHEMI position that's represented as an NFT. And it is it has a certain lockup before the actual liquid tokens inside of it can be withdrawn, but the position itself is transferable. So it's natural that markets will spring up around that. There will be speculation. I would say that any sort of price discovery for the vHEMI positions can't really happen until there's more information about the vHEMI staking yield that's announced, and also some of the future plans for additional avenues of vHEMI yield for people who do want to participate in different parts of the protocol. So vHEMI, we've talked about this in the past, but just as a refresher, that's going to evolve into what we're kind of codenaming the converged staking system, which basically means you stake Hemi tokens once to get a vHEMI position, and then you can additionally basically stake that vHEMI position into different parts of the protocol to participate in different things. So for example, being a sequencer, participating in BitVM covenant emulation, providing liquidity for the liquidity wrapper on the Bitcoin tunnel system, further out in the future, participating in providing compute bandwidth and storage for the chain builder, shared sequencing, shared DA system. And so all of that's going to flow as part of the overall economics of what vHEMI positions represent, the yield opportunities for different types of users. And so without more information on that, you can't really get price discovery on it, but the underlying mechanic does allow the trading of those positions.
All right. Same category, sir. What is the Hemispheres Foundation, and why did it receive locked tokens? What will the foundation use these Hemi tokens for?
So Hemispheres Foundation is basically, most crypto projects follow this pattern these days, where they have a foundation that basically sponsors the chain. That could be giving incentives to developers, that could be paying for development expenses, that could be sponsoring events, that could be all kinds of things that just flow into contributing towards the overall project's growth and development. And so that's essentially what the foundation tokens are for, is anything that makes sense from the foundation's perspective to encourage Hemi adoption, development, security, marketing, events, anything around that. So some of that comes from the community pile, some of that comes from the foundation, and then as governance evolves over time, and this is not my area of expertise, but basically the community side will be more governance involved, and the foundation side is more additional things that the foundation wants to do on behalf of the project.
And one bit I'll add is, remember, Hemi Labs, as in many of us, is never meant to be the only player in Hemi. Obviously we've done a lot of work in Hemi. The ideas for Hemi come from here, but ultimately, if there are other players that think they can be, good or major participants to Hemi, then come on, join in, do something where, Hemi Labs is here to, ideally we just want to do our part and other people do their part too. And that's part of why a lot of open projects do these sort of foundation/labs or whatever the hell they feel like calling it split, because it just makes it clear that even though we're I don't want to say prime contractors, but we're the ones doing a lot of the work on it, it's not to say that we will always and forever own the chain. We want other people in there. We want other people eventually running sequencers. We want other people contributing to core software. There's room. And the split sort of helps make that room be more obvious and clearer and easier and all that.
Build cool shit on Hemi.
Yes, always.
All right. I'm shocked. John hasn't sworn yet on Midweek with Max. We might be setting a record here. How is the yearly emission 3 to 7% as per tokenomics of new tokens calculated? And where/how can you check the current emission rate?
So the way that works is, so a little bit of background just to understand the different pieces first. So there's a Hemi token contract, sort of the base contract for the Hemi token is deployed on Ethereum. And then the version of the Hemi token contract on the Hemi L2 is the tunneled version of that token. And then Right now, only on BSC, but in the future on other networks, there will be a version of the Hemi token that uses layer 0 for cross-chain interoperability. In the future, that could be through other cross-chain interop solutions as well, things like AgLayer, et cetera. But the emissions are done in the base Ethereum contract, and then they're auto-tunneled over to a contract on the Hemi L2 that then handles emission distribution. So for numbers, you can look at the base contract and look at the total supply or total number of minted tokens in that base contract. And that gives you an idea of the actual emissions beyond 10 billion that have occurred to date. Right now, we have not yet enabled emissions. So if you go look at the contract right now, it's going to show 10 billion. When we do enable emissions in the future, basically every 30 days, anyone can call that contract the mint emissions function, and that will mint the corresponding emissions for that 30-day period, and then auto tunnel it, like I said, over to a receiver contract on Hemi that over time will evolve how it distributes those emissions. So as for what the 3 to 7% represents, it's going to be a combination of things that you basically need long-term to drive a protocol that has continuing costs that need to be paid to people who run certain roles on the network. So the main one in there is going to be PoP miners. So a lot of that emissions is going to go to the PoP miners, and that can scale from essentially 0 to up to 5%, depending on how much is actually needed to pay for the target of 5 active PoP miners at a time. With HBit VM, there's going to be, like I mentioned last week, changes to I shouldn't say changes to PoP mining. There's going to be additions to PoP mining that introduce a new track of PoP publication. So it's going to be a different way of publishing data using something very similar to what Ordinals uses, where you do TapScript commit reveals, basically 2 transactions to publish a larger payload. And that's going to contain Ethereum attestation data. And that's part of our, in air quotes, securing Ethereum to Bitcoin, at least in a ZK context, and asterisk around that explanation. But so as PoP mining evolves from just publications of Hemi data, which are small but frequent, and we want redundancy, to this additional publication track of Ethereum data where they can take longer, so you get better fee market. You can pay lower fees by waiting longer for the publication, and we also don't need redundancy. That's going to have a separate algorithm, but as that gets added, that's also going to come out of those emissions. 2% of those emissions are earmarked for sequencers. So once we launch decentralized sequencing, that 2% fixed amount of the emissions is going to go to sequencing. People who have vHEMI positions opt into sequencing, and then are properly sequencing blocks on the network will be part of that 2% of the emissions carve out. And then the additional part that's not needed for sequencers and PoP publication will either be burnt and or go into other parts of the ecosystem. So it could go into in the future, paying for ZK provability. It could go into funding projects on Hemi that say governance votes to fund. And so that'll evolve over time, but basically it's at the beginning, it's basically just paying for PoP mining, and then that'll evolve into paying for both types of PoP mining, paying for decentralized sequencing, potentially subsidizing or paying for some other decentralized roles in the ecosystem, and also potentially being used as some sort of governance-controlled community incentive system.
All right. Thank you for that update. This may have been covered to some degree. If so, I apologize. But when will the Hemi tokens earned with PoP mining be unlocked?
So we should have the contract deployed that lets you trade in the 50% locked vHEMI position back for liquid tokens if you're a part of the original PoP points pre-TGE in that first claim group. We should have that hopefully by the end of the week. And we're looking to get the new PoP payouts algorithm deployed by end of next week. There are some other, it's the next engineering item that's going to ship. There are some other things that engineering has to take care of post-TGE, so that timing could shift a bit, but we're expecting that in the next roughly 2 weeks here. And when that gets deployed, then all of the additional PoP points from TGE to when the new payout algorithm is implemented, those will get credited one-to-one with Hemi tokens. On-chain, there may be a claim process or maybe automatic, details TBD on that. And then going forward with the new algorithm, then it'll just be immediate liquid tokens paid out at each keystone with the new payout algorithm that I described in the general chat parameterization subject to change as we do some final back testing on Bitcoin fee market data.
Awesome. And if you are looking for that info, we have pinned it in general. Before we get to the next question, Gladdy has posted a link to Hemi Heads, which has some really awesome games that were built on Hemi. Highly reco. I kind of suck at the Flappy Birds one, but I'm getting better. And hopefully one day I will be as good as some of the rest of you. But definitely check that out if you haven't. It's awesome. He did some killer work on that, and we love seeing people build stuff on Hemi. So please keep doing things like that. Especially that guy who said he was going to make the Pac-Man style game. Where the hell is that? That would be great to see. All right, moving on to programs. What are the upcoming opportunities on Hemi?
Tons of stuff. So we're working on finalizing the details of the next incentive campaign. For now, codenamed Mainnet Season 2. It's going to be a different system, updated economics, trying to streamline some stuff, trying to look more at simplifying and focusing on the most used protocols in the ecosystem and where liquidity basically is going to add the most value to the ecosystem. So if you're an on-chain DeFi user with assets you're looking to deploy or move around or earn yield on, stay tuned for that. Details coming for that shortly. There's also going to be developer grants, bounties. We're working on getting that program together. So being able to have instead of just sort of one-offs that we've done with some developers so far, having a more cohesive program for a list of DApps based on HVM and Bitcoin Kit. We want to see people start building things like non-custodial Bitcoin dexes, non-custodial Bitcoin lending protocols, Bitcoin MEV marketplaces, those sorts of apps where we'll basically spec out, maybe spec out isn't the right word, but give a description of how you would build these apps, the best ways to build them, what HVM features you'd use, how to leverage those to build these kinds of DApps, and see who or what teams are interested in taking one of those bounties or grants and running with one of those projects. And then we'll also have an open-ended thing for if you want to build something else, either HVM-based or just a new EVM application, or bring an existing EVM application from other chains to Hemi. We'll have a way for people to apply and basically get into a queue and review process for both grants for the project as well as potentially community incentives to help grow that DApp on Hemi if it makes sense for the particular protocol. So stay tuned for that. Don't have an exact time on that. We're still putting the details together for that program, but that's going to be coming in the future. And aside from that, if you're interested in building anything on Hemi, definitely reach out. We do have the builders role on Discord as well. So if you're not part of that, definitely Joshua can post details on how you apply for that and get into the developer chat. There's also going to be opportunities for, I'm sure there's going to be community campaigns. We're going to continue with, competitions, memes, art, all the community creative stuff in Discord. We also have the upcoming Hemithic/OG role, as that's not maybe an opportunity, but just something else on the horizon that's coming out for a lot of the early users who have been on Discord and active on testnet way back in the day. And yeah, stay tuned for more ways to contribute to more things you can do. Also getting more protocols deployed, more interesting things to do on chain. So even if it's not part of the incentives program, just having useful DeFi infrastructure for people to use for creating Bitcoin, ETH, stablecoin assets, being able to take out borrowed positions against DeFi portfolios, things of that nature. So there's a lot of stuff already on chain for that, and there's a lot of stuff in the works that will also be coming to Hemi over the next few months in that space.
And don't wait for us. You don't have to wait for us to tell you what shit you need to build. Like, there, you know what you want. You know the stuff you need. Most, if you're involved in crypto, you have some idea of what's there and what could be there, and not just things you want to build. Documentation you want to write, like, people need to know how to use the shit that's already there. And if you, feel like you can communicate in some language or other, and look, I'm an engineer, so I'm not sure I can communicate in any language, but if, whatever language you can communicate in, write stuff, documentation, tutorials, all of it. You know, you don't have to wait. We're not the final thing to tell you what you should be doing. You are. You being the community overall. I mean, and you individually. Hell.
And speaking of languages and like figuring out what you want to build and what you want to make, if someone does create like some games on Hemi, as some folks have already done, reach out. We're happy to host like a game night on Discord or something, and we can figure out like ways to incentivize it and whatnot. I mean, we really want you guys to shine and make cool shit on the network. So please do that. Also, it's a little early to talk about it, but spoiler alert, at some point, the engineers will be teaching me how to do stuff on the network. And you may find that funny, as I'm sure a lot of you do. More details on that will come sooner than later. Back to programs.
So Rick, does the book that I sent you over the weekend count as the beginning of that?
I actually read it twice last night. John bought me Blockchain for Babies, and it's a picture book, and I read it 3 times, and I assume I will be mocked by the entire team for now owning this book and reading it so closely, as I believe it's meant for like 3-year-olds.
Yeah, it was actually my daughter's turning 6, and one of my daughters is turning 6, and it was hers, and yeah, she's on to bigger books, but
and this is why the engineering team will be teaching me very specific things. So hopefully one day I'll get a builder role, depending on how well they can explain things to me.
For the record,
John,
I actually think
John moved on to white papers, or is she in a reading journey?
God.
Just for the record, for anyone with kids, I thought the Astrophysics for Babies book in the same series was actually the better one. But
Oh dear God in hell. All right. Let's see. Okay. Back to programs and our regular scheduled program. When does Hemi's grant program start? Additionally, do you provide mentorship or advisory guidance as a part of the grant program?
Good question. So no exact date on the grant program yet. We are still putting the details together for that. So hopefully I have some more info on that now that the sort of post-TGE insanity is the dust settling on that. As far as mentorship, advisement, to some extent, like if you're building something and you have questions about how HVM works, or specific pieces of the network, or how to use the Ethereum settlement contracts to send cross-chain messages back to a DApp on Ethereum or anything like that, I'm more than happy to help. But it won't be like at least at this point, like a formal program, but more of just a open chat technical discussion where you have access to the engineering team, able to answer questions, especially on Hemi specific things. So it won't be a learning Solidity boot camp, but especially for all the things that are Hemi specific, we're definitely more than happy to help answer questions, provide explanations, code samples, review contained examples of stuff people are working on that maybe they have an issue with. So definitely open invitation for technical questions in chat, but not like any sort of formal mentorship program.
Right. We have some exciting news that I will read after this question regarding building and roles. Let's see. Still on programs. When will there be a new points program for staking and adding liquidity to different protocols?
That's coming soon. We're still hammering out the details for effectively the new season. So stay tuned for that. Hoping to announce, and again, we're still putting the program together, so this may move a little bit. Hoping to have details on that out, in the next 2 or so weeks. But yeah, stay tuned. There will definitely be additional incentives for providing liquidity in different protocols. And staking is not going to be directly incentivized, other than vHEMI staking through the upcoming staking yield tokenomics information, which is going to be separate from the incentives program, but is incentives for vHEMI positions.
All right. Let's see. Sorry. Before we move to ecosystems, I'm going to kick the mic over to JCV for an announcement.
Yeah. So, along the lines of the things I was saying before about contributing to docs, contributing to repos, we are going to have a role. I don't know if it's going to be called open source contributor, or maybe someone has a slightly better wording for it than that. That we will be attaching to folks who contribute to one of the Hemi. Right now, it would be one of the Hemi labs, and yes, I know I said that Hemi Labs isn't the exclusive owner of Hemi, but at the moment, we are the ones who do it. So that's the way it goes. But if you can contribute to one of our open source repos, and that includes the docs page, we're going to have a role attached to that.
Yep. And to receive it, you just have to have contributed to at least one open source Hemi repository, then create a ticket, ping Joshua or JCV, make sure you have your GitHub account linked to your Discord, and they will take it away from there.
Ping Joshua, because if you ping me, I'm just going to ping Joshua. So cut out the middle step, namely me. But yeah, so when we say contribution, PR that gets merged. If you contribute a PR and it doesn't get merged, that's not contributing. But, we obviously try to work with everybody who contributes. If you contribute just AI garbage, we're not going to work very hard with you. If you contribute something that you did with AI and it's good, sure, whatever. But, if it looks like an honest attempt, we will work with you to help you get it in. And we've done that, in the past, too.
Thank you, Zach. All right, moving on to ecosystem. We'll start with one that just came in. When merge?
No updates on merch. We have been talking about that internally and talking about getting something spun up for that, but I don't have fortunately anything concrete to share, but it is definitely on the radar.
All right. Why did that get crossed out? All right. When will DAO services like Snapshot be available on Hemi?
Not sure about Snapshot specifically. We will have something, either Snapshot or something similar to Snapshot, or the first iteration of the Hemi governance system based around vHEMI staking positions. So we will have something like that, I would say, in the next 4 to 6 weeks, whether it's actually Snapshot or one of the other similar, Snapshot equivalents, still TBD. But we will have something like that available for the vHEMI governance. The first phase of that, again, probably the next 4 to 6 weeks. And that's probably something, if you're building something on Hemi that you also want to benefit from a Snapshot-like tool, you could also use in your DApp.
And also, if you happen to be a big enough governance nerd, and I guess such people exist, that you have actually interesting opinions on Snapshot versus some other, DeFi governance thingy out there, let us know, because we'd be, we're happy to hear from, if people out there have some actual real world experience that, hey, you think Snapshot's awesome, you think it's terrible, can't guarantee it's going to be the direction we go, but you know what, we want the data ultimately, because I've primarily used Snapshot, but maybe there's something else awesome out there. Or maybe everything out there sucks and you really just want to say, please, for the love of God, use Snapshot. But again, if you're a DeFi governance nerd or something like that, let us know. We want the data. This is, in theory, where, we've got enough people who consider themselves, scientists and engineers here that we want to work with data. And if you've got it, give it.
Yep, and to add on to that as well, governance is going to be a evolving thing over time. So it's going to start out with a snapshot-esque sort of a tool. And then also, Alex, to answer your question in chat, once we have that integrated for use in vHEMI governance, I believe you would be able to also use it for other governance purposes. There may be some additional steps that need to be done depending on which tool we choose, but overall it'll be either available for other people to use, or making it available for other people to use for other things wouldn't be far off. And then over time, governance is going to evolve to a much more custom Hemi protocol specific thing. Like, for example, we want the ability to enforce, cryptographically provable, basically on-chain-ish voting for things like updating the ZK verifier algorithm used for HBitVM, things of that nature. And so as the needs for more technical strength and security around the governance process come up as part of the protocol's own needs, that governance system is going to evolve to something that's more custom and vHEMI protocol specific.
Right. You literally just answered my next question. Okay, on to the Hemithic/OG role. I knew this was coming. Oh, wait, no, I'm sorry. There's one more in ecosystem. We'll get to that in a sec. But this is probably from Miracle. When can we see a new NFT marketplace within Hemi?
I think John Greenwood may have some updates on this side. I'll throw the mic over to him.
Yes, sir. So we have not the one that I had kind of drummed up a little bit earlier, but we do have another one that came into play. Let me make sure I grab the proper URL here. Sorry. So micro3.io, micro3.io. They're a little bit of a newer player. It has some kind of cool frameworking though, and they just came to Hemi. So pretty excited about that. We do have another in the pipeline that, once again, as soon as they do some stuff on their side, I can announce. But until then, I would check them out. Definitely has some cool stuff to play with.
That's awesome news. John, if you don't mind, can you drop? Oh, Joshua beat you to it. Perfect.
I'm still here.
All right. Well, thank you for dropping that link, Josh. All right. Now we're moving on to Hemithic/OG. And number one question, how long until the Hemithic/OG?
I believe that should be in the next 2-ish weeks. So still working on some of the technical components for, I believe, being able to link an EVM address to Discord and some backend services in support of that. Looking to get that out soon. I don't know if Joshua, if you have any other updates on that you want to provide.
The backend for the linking system is mostly done. There's some Ethereum side parts that are still being worked on, and now we're starting on the front end, so coming soon.
Awesome news. Okay. Still on the same topic here. For the Hemithic/OG role, will a Deimos verification on mainnet be required in addition to minting on Hemi Sepolia for the Deimos eligibility point?
I believe, yes, you will also have to have done mainnet verification. I'll defer to the rest of the team if anyone believes otherwise, but I believe that is part of the requirement list.
I believe it's currently only on Hemi Sepolia. But if we wanted to add that, I'm not sure if it would. Oh, sorry, Josh said yes. Yes, it is part of it. Okay. Thank you, sir. All right. Still on the same topic here. Will the OG role tokens be distributed or claimed through the portal? And will any tokens be vested?
Still TBD on the claim mechanics. So probably through the portal or, yeah, the current claim process in the portal, but TBD. Also TBD on the vesting. There will be, at a minimum, some liquid tokens. Not sure the ratio yet.
All right, and we will provide more details as the next couple weeks unfold. Moving on to our final section, which is engineering. What is the Hemi engineering team's primary current focus?
A couple of things I'd say the biggest kind of long-standing item is ZK provability, which feeds into HBitVM. And so a lot of the team is working on that, making progress towards making the Hemi network ZK provable. And that's going to get us ZK settlement on the Ethereum side, as well as being able to then build out the additional HBitVM components to get BitVM working for the Bitcoin tunnel system. Aside from that, a lot of other open work streams that are smaller things. So getting even better testing environments for L1 contract upgrades in place, being able to test and simulate all those before we actually go and upgrade networks, because it is sort of a high risk change for obvious reasons. And so being able to just simulate that, do a ton of testing in a isolated integration testing environment is very useful. So they're doing some work on that. Obviously, the PoP payouts work that's coming to a close. Main thing there is just doing the back testing, making sure we have parameters tuned correctly. And other than that, we got the Hemi Network V2 release candidate out. So there's still some additional testing ongoing with that before we switch that to a formal release and start asking people to actually upgrade their opget, opnode instances based on that code base. But that's in the final stages of testing and any final bug fixing before switching it off release candidate. And then beyond that, the next major thing is going to be working on the sequencer decentralization. So being able to take your vHEMI position, restake it basically, and become a sequencer on the network. And there's also some work streams on the smart contract side for improvements to the vHEMI system, letting people extend to even longer lockups with longer reward and governance multipliers. Some things there that will facilitate the eventual vHEMI restaking system. Some things that will move towards the sort of post-snapshot-esque governance system. And then also some improvements to the Bitcoin tunnel as the interim between now and HBitVM, and also some other like ecosystem things, kind of like not even partner protocols, but just things on Hemi to do in the DeFi ecosystem that we'll be also announcing in the next month or two.
All right, John, anything you want to add to that?
I'll just say, I guess we're also have some security work that's taking a sizable chunk of time and attention. We just want to make sure both Hemi and as many of the things around it are as secure as we can. Trying to, we're not doing bad as is, but there's always ways to do it better and do it in more sort of sustainable ways. People, I'm sure if you're paying attention, you've heard that at least for some software languages, the supply chain is kind of just deeply, deeply messed up. So, we have to worry about how do you look at supply chain for software in a way that you're not going to screw up and you're not going to get these just garbage things because the upstream providers, NPM, I'm looking at you, can't do their job right at all, ever, and are worse than using Perl was like 20 years ago. Not that I sound a little annoyed there, right? But, Go's pretty good, but nothing's perfect. And, we're concerned as to how do you make sure we're doing it pretty good, but how do you make sure you're doing it right where you don't want to not make a mistake. You want to be in a situation where you can't make a class of mistakes. And these are things that we're looking at and deeply interested in and right now.
All right, well said, sir. Still in engineering land, when will the new PoP payout algorithm be implemented?
Targeting before end of next week. And also, for anyone who didn't hear this earlier in the initial update, I did post some information in the general chat about the protocol design and current parameterization. So the parameters may change, but the overall algorithm and mechanics is going to be the same. So if you do want to get a head start on understanding that in preparation for the new PoP payouts algorithm, do definitely check that out as well.
There's my mute button. All right. When will the Block Scout Explorer be updated to show the Hemi token value and fix many bugs, such as the API not returning info for some blocks?
Hemi token value probably pretty soon. Slightly lower priority item than some other stuff the apps team has been working on recently. But that is something we'll probably get done in the near future. As far as the API, basically we're on an older version of Block Scout currently, and we need to do some stuff on getting some L1 contract upgrades done, especially to format some of the data that Block Scout looks for in some of the newer versions before we can update and get some of those bug fixes in that have happened upstream. So that's probably a little further out, but we are looking to get that resolved in the near future alongside that L1 contract upgrade.
Right. Let's see. Oh, that might be the end of it. Well, actually, here's one. I don't have any updates on it personally, but possibly someone else on the team. Will Hemi be on Guild in the future?
I also don't have any other context for. I don't know if I see Ryan Charleston has his hand raised. I don't know if that's related to this.
Hemi is on Guild. It's just at the network level. That's a separate integration. So we'll work on that.
I just
Ryan Charleston. I don't see
Yep.
anybody.
I have invited him to speak, and here he is.
Cool.
Ryan Charleston, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, I don't have any on the guild. I don't have any information on that. I think what John said was all that I know.
All right. Was there anything else you wanted to share with the community? I'm not sure when you had raised your hand. I'd just seen it.
Oh, there's a question directly for you, Ryan. Any update for Yap Market Yappers?
The only thing that's going to happen with Yap Market is 30 days post TGE. We have distribution of the 2 campaigns we ran. There was a ranking of 21, the top 21 from each campaign. So we have all those addresses, and they'll get distributed. Hemi tokens. So look out for that if you're on that list.
All right. That is great news. Let's see. I think we have come to the end of questions. Josh, is that accurate? I believe this next one was covered. This is where I really wish we had game show music to play, but yeah, I think that might be it. All right. Well, thank you to our community moderators, and to everyone. I'm going to just kick it over to the team for some final outros, and we will post a recap of Midweek with Max on YouTube as soon as possible, but we'll also do an announcement with the awesome notes Josh has taken. And we'll include the links to both Hemi Heads and the new NFT. Oh, Alex is yelling at me. Sorry. Before I turn it over to you guys, I am getting yelled at by Alex. Let's call him to the stage. I know what the hell he's yelling at me. There you go. Oh, we have a winner. In Alex's contest that he announced at the beginning of Midweek with Max. You can find it directly in the chat for this AMA. So congratulations to Suvra, to Sorovs. I apologize. I'm still sick. I'm butchering names. Please forgive me. But the winner has been announced. Alex has tagged you. Congratulations. And now, without further ado, I am going to turn it over to the team for outros. And thank you all so much.
All right, sounds good. And we did get one longer question that I'll summarize as people who did mainnet pop mining and did not get fully compensated for the Bitcoin they spent on fees. So high level, you will be getting the ability to trade in the locked position for the equivalent liquid position. Like I said, that should be before the end of the week. So that should go quite a ways towards addressing that. As far as pop mining in general, the economics were basically known. People did know how much they were spending on Bitcoin transaction fees, and it was heavily implied to be a one-to-one conversion, which once we let people trade in their locked positions will be fulfilled. So, that is essentially the realities of participating in protocol. You are speculating on the current value of the token you expect to get versus the Bitcoin fees that you're paying. But we are letting people get that liquid portion of their locked tokens because that's a reasonable expectation for how the payout mechanics were originally discussed, and that was heavily implied. So we are giving people the ability to get those locked positions, but that is the way POP is meant to work, is that people are paying Bitcoin fees. They're trying to compete to pay the lowest Bitcoin fees to still maximize their reward. And so a lot of people who participated maybe were overpaying Bitcoin fees, not correctly engaging with the Bitcoin fee market in the way that was optimal for the payouts algorithm. That is unfortunately the reality of how a protocol like that works. But going forward, once we get the new payout algorithm implemented, that's going to be in just pure liquid tokens, and so that's going to be a much more rapid feedback and realistic, having more economic data to work with, choosing to participate in PoP mining or not.
All right. Thank you for that, sir. If there is there anything else from the team? Max, John, Ryan, Clippy, Antonio?
No, I think that's it. Just stay tuned for more updates. If you're waiting for updates on the PoP payouts, being able to claim the liquid position for the vHEMI position, that should be before the end of the week. VeriBlock stuff should be before the end of next week, working through some technical stuff on that side to get that claim process up. And beyond that, stay tuned for a lot more cool engineering updates and shipping the new PoP payout algorithm in the future. And also finally finishing up the HBit VM white paper that got kind of delayed and backburnered during TGE, but dusting that off and getting that to completion as well. So stay tuned for that in the relatively near future, and we will see you next week.